Rudy Giuliani.
Well, I think I might just kick somebody off. And I think the people I'm going to kick off are probably the most disgraceful committee in the history of the Congress since the McCarthy Committee. And I would argue, because I know something about the McCarthy Committee, definitely worse. The McCarthy Committee did not have as large a group of liars, hucksters, un-American, hateful people as this committee. And of course, it was constructed without any Republican input. The only Republicans taken were Benedict Arnold Republicans who had largely left the Republican Party and weren't even going to run, or they were going to attempt to run like Mary Cheney, who had her proverbial head kicked in. But here's their introductory material. 90% of it is garbage. All I can judge when people do this is what I know. Everything they have said about me is largely either untrue or directly untrue. For example, they have a woman saying that I left the White House one night with her and told her that the next day on January 6th to come, it was going to be very exciting and all these things were going to happen. And not on the evening of January 5th, when I left the White House, I wasn't sure whether I was even speaking the next day. And I wasn't certain I knew exactly what it was. And I had no idea it was a march on the White House. None. So she makes that all up. When I watch it, to me, it's extraordinarily frightening. She seems like a very nice young lady, and I vaguely remember her. Who put that in her head? I couldn't possibly have said it to her. I didn't know it was going to happen. Well, I don't think I have to prove this to you because they ran into one of their numerous amateur mistakes that you fall when you lie like this for 5 years and 6 years, when you become known for only lying like the chairman has, and like Shifty Schiff has, and like all of the people around Pelosi have. You just lie in ways that are so provable, it's almost silly to prove it to you. But I would like to get, if you don't mind, Ted, I'd like to get the court opinion. You see, they among other things, listed me as a group of people. I don't know if I'm referred or I'm sent over to take a look at to see whether I committed a crime. Now, the Southern District has done this with me for 3 years, toyed with me and played with me to see if I committed a crime. I can make it really clear to you right now, I don't commit crimes. They do. In the course of the last 5 years, Congressman Schiff has committed so many crimes in front of the American press. It's disgraceful that they allow him to cockhold them the way he does. And he's not even very good at it. He's an insipid, silly man who lies and lies and lies and lies. I'm still waiting for the people who had direct knowledge of Donald Trump's involvement in Russian collusion, which we now know never happened, was forged, and he was one of the primary architects of the fraud. Yet he's allowed today to sit on television like he's a Solon of Persia, delivering wisdom to us after the last 5 years of lie after proven lie after proven lie. The chairman of the committee is shocked about being an election denier. He was an election denier for 5 years when it was an election he didn't like. And so was his pal, Stacey Abrams.
Whole thing in the news are 2 pages.
He wanted Trump. He wanted Trump inaugurated before Trump got into office. That's the chairman of a committee we're supposed to respect. But I would like to really stick it in their face big time tonight. The United States District Court for the District of Columbia issued an opinion in a case in which the rather careless and not very smart chairman sued me. He also sued Donald Trump Jr., lots of other people. What did he sue us for? Exactly what he's referring us to Congress for creating a riot, for doing it in order to overthrow the Constitution, to all these crazy, insane notions, when in fact we were seeking redress for grievances that we believed existed and you exaggerated and made it seem as if we were being unfair and had no evidence, when in fact we had thousands of affidavits being suppressed by the courts, affidavits which are all coming to light today. Well, you brought a lawsuit against us before you decided to refer it for prosecution. You didn't mention today, Mr. Chairman, you didn't mention today that you're an election denier, did you? Because you're a liar, Mr. Chairman. You're a straight, flat-out, politically corrupt liar. And you didn't mention the fact that you sued me and lost. Did you, Mr. Chairman? Again, because you were a straight-out, fat liar. You are the product of the rotting Democrat slave creating political party, aren't you? The party of slavery, my friend. That's what you belong to. All these years, what have you done for your district? What you done for yourself? Let's go take a look, huh? But in any event, did you mention, as any decent, honorable man, a title to which you will never be entitled, would say, I sued this man before for roughly these same charges, and a federal judge denied my lawsuit, but you didn't say that. You didn't say that because you were hoping people didn't see it, because you're a liar. You're a man who connives. You're a man who cheats. You're a man, and like Mary Cheney and the other woman, a woman of the worst congressional committee in the history of this country. This one. The January 6th committee. This will go down in infamy as a complete trashing of the United States Constitution. Now, I would like to just read to you the decision of a federal judge based on the evidence considered by a fair man, and the difference between a fair man and a craven, dishonest, in some cases, corrupt politicians. This is his decision on whether there was evidence justifying what the crooked committee did. This is a case involving January 6th and my participating and helping to bring it about, along with Donald Trump Jr., and many other people. Now we get to the section on Giuliani, which is at page 76 of a 122-page opinion. It's only 2 pages. It's easy to read. It won't take long. The court reaches a different conclusion as to Giuliani. There's little doubt that plaintiffs have adequately pleaded that Giuliani was involved in a conspiracy to engage in a months-long misinformation campaign to convince Trump supporters that the election had been illegally stolen. Now, I agree with that, except I would say it was not a misinformation campaign. It was a patriotic campaign to inform the American people of the facts they need to know so that the Democrats can't continue to steal elections from them ad infinitum. But the court makes it clear that there's nothing illegal about that on one side or the other. But as the court stated earlier, such a conspiracy does not violate Section 1985(1). What plaintiff must plausibly establish is that Giuliani conspired to prevent Congress from discharging its duties on January 6th by force, intimidation, or threat. There, they fall short. Mr. Chairman, you fell short with the judge, but you're trying again maybe with the crooked Justice Department to see if you can get one more frame through like you did on Trump, huh? Because that's what you guys are all about. You are the Russian collusion people, the Russian collusion liars. Remember, when you watch them, remember, Schiff has the evidence of Trump direct involvement in Russian collusion, but he just doesn't want to tell you. Do you believe that? Or do you believe he is a big, miserable, unethical liar? There they fall short. In addition to his pre-January 6th actions, which alone do not establish Giuliani as a 1985 Paren 1 conspirator. Plaintiffs, that's the committee of framers and liars. The plaintiffs are the chairman and all his lying members of Congress. Plaintiffs pointed to 2 of Giuliani's acts that occurred on January 6th. 1, his rally speech in which he said, "So let's have trial by combat. And we're going to fight to the very end to make sure that doesn't happen." And 2, a phone call that he made to members of Congress urging them to delay the certification. These allegations, individually and taken together, do not nudge a plaintiff's 1985 Paren 1 claim into Giuliani across the line from conceivable to plausible. So it doesn't move the evidence to plausible violation of the law. As to the rally remarks, the court believes Giuliani's words are not enough to make him a part of a conspiracy. Critically, Giuliani uttered no words that resembled a call to action. Trial by combat was not a combination or was not accompanied by a direction to do anything. And given that the speaker, those words were not likely to move the crowd to act. Now, it should also be pointed out that those words, which the judge does or does not seem to recognize, were preceded by 2 sentences that were very dishonestly removed by the press and everyone else who repeats it. First sentence says we should have a trial, a test of the 2 machines to see which one works. And then the second one said, whoever works, if mine works, you go to jail. If yours works, I guess I apologize to you. It was clearly a trial by machine. But in any event, the judge came to the conclusion those words were not likely to move the crowd to act. There's no allegation that anyone took Giuliani's words as permission to enter the Capitol. And there are no allegations that Giuliani at any time before January 6th uttered words advocating or inspiring violence. Indeed, as discussed further below, the court holds that Giuliani's rally remarks are constitutionally protected speech. He is now referring to the Justice Department, my constitutionally protected speech. And he claims he respects the First Amendment. And all of them. Nor is Giuliani alleged to have been involved in rally planning or known that the president would direct the crowd to march to the Capitol. And he did not express solidarity with the rally goers after some violently assaulted police and forced their way into the Capitol. Giuliani's words at the rally are not sufficiently additive to make him a 1985 Section 1 co-conspirator. Neither are his phone calls to lawmakers on January 6th after the Capitol was breached. There's some conflict among plaintiffs on this allegation. The Bass plaintiffs allege that such calls were made while the insurrection was ongoing. The Blasingame plaintiffs, on the other hand, say that two such calls occurred at 7 p.m. after law enforcement had cleared the Capitol. Whatever the timing of those calls, they most established Giuliani as an opportunist, not someone who shared in the same general conspiratorial objective as others before the Capitol occurred. Though Giuliani unquestionably was a central figure in the president's efforts to sow doubt and mistrust in the election's outcome, the court cannot say, based on the facts alleged, that he plausibly shared the common conspiratorial goal of violently disrupting the Constitution. What kind of congressman sends charges like that have been rejected so thoroughly by an Obama-appointed judge to a prosecutor run by a crooked attorney general and an administration that uses the Justice Department to criminally pursue its enemy over and over again? Congressmen do that who have lost all sense of what it means to be an honest public servant. This hearing, for many reasons that we will take up over the next number of months, years, and in our history, will be one of the great disgraces to the United States Congress, equal and greater than the damage done by Joseph McCarthy, with the innocent lives destroyed, the people kept in prison for ungodly amounts of time, the covering up of the murder of Ashley Babbitt and others. There's a homicide at the heart of this. So that's what we had today. I'm happy to fight them. Happy to fight them in Congress. Happy to fight them in court. Happy to fight them in prison. Boy, I'm ready to fight them in heaven. What I worry about is what they've done to our country. How do they get this degree of public support and approbation? These are people that, as a young man, I could have picked out as liars, that you would have too, in a moment. So, Ted, let's see if we have any calls on this before we get to other things and some water around. And
that's right, Mayor. Thanks for joining us. And you can go to rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com. And comment below. Let us know your who you are and where you're tuning in from. And ask away. The mayor is here to answer your questions, of course. And we do want to note that these criminal referrals, the mayor has yet to be named by this highly partisan committee. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
Name me. Come on, name me. I don't care. I don't care. If I got me embarrassed if you didn't. Would you like to name me along with Donald Trump? I would be embarrassed if you didn't. Or along with Mark Meadows or Judge Eastman, who's one of the finest men that I know. And so is Mark Meadows, by that matter. Mark Meadows is a fine, honorable, decent public servant. The people who serve within the House know that. Why are you doing this to him? You don't know me, Democrats in the House. You don't know me, and you think that you're horrible, disgusting, embarrassing, wicked members are probably justified in what they're doing to me, even though the logic of it kind of devastates you, doesn't it? That a court came to exactly the opposite opinion. You know in your heart of hearts that the court has more objectivity than the craven members that were selected by Pelosi. But why don't you straighten it out in the House? There's a long way to go to uniting this country, and it doesn't happen by saying it.
So, Mayor,
it doesn't happen by singing Kumbaya, and it doesn't happen when you have a demented president who's right now, well, probably he would not be able to identify where he is. We would have to get a sighting from someone as to where he is. He's probably in a basement or a log cabin. He could be in a nursing home bed, or he could be finishing off the last bit of his ice cream with it being pushed into his mouth, not by his wife, but by his servant. A despicable president.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the fastest hour on the internet. We are hitting record numbers tonight. Of course, a lot of Americans wanted to hear from the mayor. I want to take that back. I'm not sure how many Americans are so tuned into this highly partisan so-called committee. Of course, a committee made up of 7 Democrats and 2 former Republicans. Both, I believe, have either denounced their membership to the party, or at least, in effect, denounced their membership by the way they've conducted themselves over the past year or so, going on 2 years. Time sure flies. So this highly partisan committee comes out with their findings. They have, I guess, a multiple tiered system of releasing their findings, right? Something came out today, but apparently something else is also going to come out.
For example, they released today that this woman told me on the way out of the White House on some evening, that the evening before the 6th, that there would be something on the 6th that she should come to. It'd be a rally or something. It's impossible that I had that conversation, because on the night of the 5th, I was in confusion as to whether I was even giving a speech that day. That wasn't confirmed until early in the morning by Mark Meadows. Nor was I ever aware of the rally until the president mentioned it at the end of his speech. So she has me confused with another person. That would be my generous explanation. My other explanation as a trial lawyer, having listened to her lie over and over again, is that she's another very sick liar.
Looking to maybe sell a few copies.
And then
of,
there's Jason Turner.
Who is that?
Jason Turner. Jason Turner was the public relations guy for the Trump campaign. He was the number 2 public relations guy for my campaign. And he announced that I was inebriated, repeated today by the British Mail, that I was inebriated the night of the election. Now, it just so happens that the night of the election, I made a vow not to have anything to drink because I wanted to have a clear head. Now, I don't usually do that, but I did it. And my friends were very, very aware of it. And when he announced it big time to try to sell his shitty book, he ran into them. They were also his friends, and Jason Miller. And Jason made the mistake of running into them. Running into their recollection. And they remember that night I had said I wasn't going to have anything to drink because there were important decisions to make, and that they had really made a joke of it and put a whole bunch of Diet Cokes and Diet Pepsi on my little table in the White House, where I had about 3 computers that I was looking at. So I probably would not have been able to defend myself. I probably could have defended myself that I wasn't inebriated. I probably couldn't have defended myself that I hadn't had a drink or 2, because I usually do. Just so happens, God is good. 5 witnesses say I didn't touch it. Now, Jason, why are you lying? I've been your friend for 12, 15 years. I got you your first job as assistant press secretary. I helped you when you got into deep trouble with all the allegations about paternity.
And Mayor, I
I
just
got you back on your job, and I kept pushing you with Donald Trump. I was good to you. I don't mind getting hurt by the Cheneys. She's a sick woman. I don't mind getting hurt by the Schiffs. They're like criminals. You only hurt when you get hurt by your friends, and it really hurts. And all you do is run away from me. And Jason, they all know you lying. You got in with the wrong group of people. Steppy in, no character. Watch him testify. I've questioned hundreds of thousands of people. I can tell the weaklings immediately. I can tell the ones who are lying and obfuscating immediately. It's in their weak little faces. You see it. You see right in their weak little faces. You put them with the wrong people, my friend. But there's no such thing as the wrong people. Ultimately, there's the truth and a lie. You're telling a lie. And you run a big company, get her. It's supposed to be based on truth. You don't deserve to run that company.
Thanks for joining us. And Mayor, for those who are watching, we have a large audience this evening. Just to kind of make it clear what we've been talking about the last few minutes, there are some media outlets have reported that you were drinking on election night, and that's something they're getting from something said by one person.
This one, in a book to Woodward and Castro, Capra, whatever his name is, which is not only is it not true. If it were necessary, I could give you 5 affidavits that not only wasn't I not drinking, but a big joke had been made of the fact that I wasn't drinking that evening because I was going to go speak to the president, and somebody actually went so far as to take pictures of me surrounded at the White House by Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi, which reminded me of that because I would not have remembered, and I probably would have been at the mercy of Miller, thinking, well, maybe I did, gee. That's how frightening it is when people try to frame you. Now, I had to work my way through that twice with Donald Trump, and I did quite successfully. And I've been able to work it now through it for myself about 4 times. Every single thing they have spun against me is a lie. 3.5 years of my having my hard drive and my iCloud account, and they couldn't find a single crime. Gosh, I can't believe it.
That's right. America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. And of course, we know him as Mayor. But so many New Yorkers and those of us who read history and really a lot of people that just are into pop culture and have seen, a lot of the, recent history about organized crime in America and in the manner in which they were taken down and severely weakened. It was Mayor Giuliani who's the number one force behind that. And he will say he worked with great people. But at the end of the day, it's Mayor Giuliani who had the fortitude and the guts and the courage and the love of country and the sheer will of wanting to give back to others that helped take down the mafia and clean up the streets of New York in so many other ways. He literally put 4 of the 5 borough presidents in New York City behind bars for corruption. This is a man who has dedicated his life.
I think you have that confused with 4 of the 5 heads of 5 families and the acting head of the 5th family and 3 of the 5 borough presidents and 200 mafia members, 200 or 300 traders on Wall Street who are violating various conspiracy laws, finance laws, including RICO, and of course, a large number of corrupt politicians, significant number
congressmen,
and of course, a significant number of the members of my predecessors' crooked Democrat administration, which is almost universally true of 90% of American cities, run by Democratic machines. Not all as crooked as New York, but all of them inefficient as a result of the poor management that they get.
So we are talking literally hundreds of members of the mafia you have put behind bars
Yes,
and
sir.
held accountable. Hundreds. We could go through and name hundreds.
Over that, more than.
More than that.
Yeah.
And this is directly. We're not even talking about the indirect effects that this work
No,
obviously
not
led
the
to.
indirect effects. Right?
That is even, I mean, we can't even measure that, folks. That's just the mafia. Corruption. How many individuals would you say you've charged and held accountable for public corruption at all levels of government or just public service?
Principal defendants, maybe 20 or 30, altogether a couple hundred.
Literally hundreds of individuals he has held accountable when it comes to public corruption. Okay. Wall Street, white collar crime. How many people are we talking?
People on Wall Street at the time, Boesky, Milken, some of the others, their firms were wiped out and used as models for how to reform and to do better, and then got worse. And then
you were a part of, again, hundreds of people on Wall Street.
Yeah, the movie Wall Street is largely about my accomplishments there. The movie Princeton of the City is largely about my accomplishments with corrupt police officers.
So again, ladies and gentlemen, and we didn't plan for this. I have to get this out. We are talking about a man who has dedicated his life to serving others and holding people accountable for their actions. Look, we don't have to get hyperbolic about it. Practically speaking, we are talking to a man right here, and this is a show hosted by a man who has quite literally done more to hold people accountable and uphold the rule of law in this country than maybe any single individual prosecutor of our generation and the generation before me. Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how far back we could go back to the beginning of this country when we talk about the greatest prosecutors and people who have left their mark for the greater good. And this isn't partisan. It's not about what he's done for the Republican Party. We're talking about what he's done for this country, the country that he loves. And we haven't even touched upon September 11th and the way that this man comforted a nation in a time of crisis.
Well, now we're going too far, Ted. I can only take so much of that.
I have to get this out, ladies and gentlemen, because what these people are doing, and I want to say that, a few of them are just so ignorant. Maybe they're too young, right? We have 20-something-year-olds now in the field of journalism. A lot of them weren't alive or just don't remember, of course, the events of 9/11. And it's just so shameful. It's so wrong. And I'm not coming at this from a partisan. I'm almost done, Mayor. I'm sorry. It's not a partisan thing here. This isn't a Republican versus Democrat thing. What they are attempting to do to this man is shameful. It's shameful. Representative Benny Thompson, never heard of you. I didn't know who you were. Most people didn't until you did the work on this committee. So you're grandstanding, trying to make a name for yourself.
I heard you when you accused Trump of being an illegitimate president. And and introduced money, election theft, and now you claim it's treason. So I think you should check yourself in, Benny.
It's shameful, and this isn't partisan. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I'm not attacking you on your policy. What you are attempting to do to a man who's dedicated his entire adult life to giving back and serving others is wrong. I don't know how these people sleep at night. And it's just it's unfortunate, and for some in the media to go along with it is just as unfortunate and just wrong and flat out wrong. So getting back to it, Mayor, you can visit RudyGiulianiCS.com.
So how many people watched the Giants last night against the Washington?
What's their name now?
Senators.
Used to be the Senators.
Washington.
Something commie?
The communists?
The commies.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
The Washington commies.
I saw it. I couldn't make out the whole thing. COMM. Was that UNIS? It would work. There's so many communists in Washington. The Washington Communists against the New York Football Giants.
And it might as well be communists, the Giants fans. The Redskins are not your are not your friends when it comes to football. The Redskins, the Commanders, whatever you want to call them.
Redskins, Commanders. Commanders is like a prophylactic. The reality is that's the name of Commanders, and what's the other one? They got the Guardians.
The Cleveland Guardians.
That's even better. You get 3 packs of Guardians for $4.55.
Big win by the Giants, Mayor. They were actually, I believe, they were underdogs going into
Gutsy
FedEx Field. Gutsy team. Does that remind you of some of the teams of the 80s?
Of course. It reminds me of the Giants in the 80s, the Giants in the early 90s, the Yankees in the 90s.
Harkens back to a better era in New York sports.
Yep.
And, of course,
Mr. Thibodeau reminded me of a young Lawrence Taylor.
Thibodeau had some big plays. He's quite the ball player. So the Giants are in position for a playoff run for the NFL and football.
And it looked like they beat a good team. It looked like Washington's a good team. Didn't look like they were anywhere near a pushover. And they played them to a tie at Giant Stadium 2 weeks earlier. So they're a real team.
So, of course, just a few weeks left in the season, but we are expecting some playoffs for the New York Giants. The other New York team, the Jets, fell to the Detroit Lions. So for those of us that watch football, just a few weeks left. Some interest. It'll come down to the wire for some teams, including the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants are in a good spot. They got to keep winning, but they're in a good spot. At least they haven't wiped themselves out. They put Washington in a bad spot.
Yeah, it certainly does. So
but that's because of the commander thing.
Yeah, they changed their name.
This year, the Super Bowl was won by the Commanders over the Guardians. What are they? Private security companies?
That does sound kind of the Commanders. I wonder how they came to that decision.
We are the Las Vegas Guardians. Ooh, that scares me.
The Cleveland Guardians. So
we are the New York Giants.
No, that was a tough sounding team, the New York Football Giants. So, rolling along here, let us know where you're tuning in from. We've had a very strong audience tonight. Rock and Ron says hello from Galveston, Texas. Nancy is in Nassau County, just 20 minutes from New York.
Oh, Nancy, thank you for joining us.
And
text in an observation, a question.
Let us know. We getting some questions here discussing how they're treating America's mayor. That's right. AZ Choctaw says hello from Arizona. Brittany, hello from Southern Illinois. James checking in from Wolf County, Kentucky. Alejandro from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Los Angeles checking in. You got Rex in Los Angeles. Illinois, Rudd from Illinois. Nightingale says hello from the Villages, which is in Florida.
Yes. Hello, Nightingale.
The Deep South. The gentleman says hi from the Deep South.
Howdy.
So they say the Deep South. New Hampshire. Corey in New Hampshire says hello. Val in California. Dave in Southern California. Hope is in Indiana. We have Japan checking in. Kate in Minnesota. West Palm Beach. Laura says hello.
Hi, Laura.
Tawidba. So Tom says hi from Lansing. Baby Dogecoin, hello from Asheville, North Carolina. Laura is in Pennsylvania. JD, hello from Cincinnati. Disruptive Innovator says hi from Montana.
You got any substantive remarks here? Hi is fine. Hi. What do you got to say, pals?
Let us know. Leave us a message. I'll scroll through here.
Put a little substance in there. America's great. America's having trouble with taxes. America has too
we'll
much
read
crime.
some comments and we'll get the mayor's responses. So you guys go ahead and ask some questions, and we'll see. We'll get his live responses. So
Show stinks. Show's great.
Show's great.
Spend a little more time on interviews. Spend a little less time on interviews. Things like that. That'd help us.
Donald Trump is a national hero for sure, but Mayor Rudy Giuliani is my biggest hero. Wow, that's quite the. What is any comment or input on what's happening at the border right now? Are you familiar with what's happening on the Texas border?
How can you not be? The only person not familiar with it is the brain dead president of the United States, who says that the border is closed. The border is wide open. The New York is affected by the people that have been sent here, and it's a minuscule portion of it. And our mayor cries every day as the mayor of El Paso does. And of course, there's nothing they can do about it. They're being completely and absolutely overwhelmed by the federal government just placing people there of all different kinds. People that are good people that are bad people, people that are homicidal maniacs. That is what is going on in your community, and it is only another couple of weeks before we end the crime numbers for this year. But once again, they will be horrible numbers. This is not a city on the move when the numbers of crimes are going up. It's a city that's deteriorating for that and many other reasons. It needs new life. It needs new politics. And mostly, take it from me, not exaggerating, get the crooks and the liars out of Washington and Albany and your state capital and your city government.
Thanks for joining us. Keep the questions coming, and we'll be sure to ask on air. If Joe doesn't run in 24, who will the Democrats put up for president? Anyone?
I think.
What are your thoughts on Gavin Newsom? Could Gavin Newsom potentially step in and win this? Governor of California.
Speaking of all the various presidential candidates, and I would say the Democrats are all dead. They're all ridiculous. All the ones but Carter who hid, acted like petty dictators, developed great animosity with their people. But they have a residual of that star power that Democrats have. Newsom is a star power. The one in Mississippi. I mean, in Michigan is a star power. The minute they name the states, they become star power. So it could happen. Yes, they could be elevated to something that they are not. Clearly not. Let's hope that's not true. And by that time, we fix up the economy.
That's right. So, of course, people are asking thoughts on Justin Trudeau. Do you know him? Have you met him?
I know Justin Trudeau. Once met him. I don't think he likes me. I think I hurt his hand when I shook it.
Is that a true story, or you're just kind of making? Is that kind of like a
It's a little bit of an
expression.
exaggerated story, but I did shake his hands, and the sweat was still on there for 2 or 3 more handshakes later.
That's too good. I'm stealing that, Mayor. That's great. So, as we continue here, any update on Arizona? Do you think there's any chance out there?
I'd have to say let's stick with where the election is right now and not develop false hopes and see what happens.
Let's see what happens. So stay tuned when it comes to Arizona. New questions. Here we go. 2024 today, Mayor. What are your thoughts? Can President Trump pull this off? It seems as though everyone is out to get him.
I think, well, it's up to him. I think it would be a good idea. It was a good idea for me. Help me to improve my message. Helps you to, you don't realize sometimes what you said or how you said it. And next time you say it better, that isn't what you wanted to do. You were just being rushed. You were being pushed. So you pushed ahead on words that you shouldn't have used.
Sure. Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live. You can visit RudyGiulianiCS.com. That's RudyGiulianiCS.com. And Mayor, what does the CS stand for?
Common sense.
And of course, we are running out of time here on tonight's live stream. Just a few minutes to go. But you can tune into Newsmax right after this program. The mayor will be on with Jen Pellegrino shortly after the top of the 9 p.m. hour to share more on his response to the all the news and, of course, the January 6th committee report. Mayor, do you want to send off our audience with a closing message this evening on another busy
very,
day
very
of the news?
long week and a very long day fighting the battle of their attempting to disbar me for reasons that I've bored you with enough, and there's no reason to defend myself to you. I will if I have to. The latest one is shocking to me because I've had nothing to do with the events of January 6th. courts have written that. A judge's opinion has definitively found that. And even my enemies don't believe it, that I was the cause of that. In fact, my enemies give me credit for stopping certain individuals from executing what they thought was going to be a major merger of the civilian and the military, and the use of the military for domestic purposes. I was the one who stopped that. At one time, they credited me with that, but now I'm a complete devil. Well, I'm not, and we're going to have plenty of time to review this, because I think it gives us material from which to discover these people, hold them to account, and let them understand the gravity of what they did. This is Rudy Giuliani. We'll be back with this live stream next week at 8:00 on all the usual stations, and also we'll have Rudy's GiulianiCS.com. It'll be out there. It's out there right now. Go pick it up. Go hit subscribe at Rudy Giuliani CS podcast.
We're having a lot of fun, and the mayor's a fun.
And then, of course, Sunday,
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Uncovering the truth.
Uncovering the truth with Dr. Maria. This time on a Sunday, Christmas Day.
You won't want to miss that.
Dreaming of a white Christmas.
And you'll catch the mayor and some of his singing.
Used to know.
So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow night at 8 p.m.
Listen, and children, listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.